Everyone, Mr. Tweet here. So in this section, we're learning about inflation. And one of the problems with inflation is that it's really easy for us to see changes in price for various things, but it's hard for us to see inflation. Because every time price changes, it might be inflation or it might be something else that's causing it. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to turn to statistics and use some statistics, principles to help us figure out what's going on. And one of the basic principles of statistics is that if you want to learn something about a population, you find a representative sample to see what's happening to them, right? So, it's going on right now with like the COVID vaccine that they've given it, they've picked thousands of people to give that vaccine to. They gave them the vaccine or a placebo, then they follow them around to find out if they're getting COVID or not so they could see if it's going to work for the whole population or not. We do a similar thing when it comes to inflation. We want to pick a representative sample of stuff and try to figure out what's happening to the prices with that stuff, and then ultimately figure out what our inflation rate is, or what is the rate of change of prices in our economy. So to find that inflation rate, we're going to use our growth formula, new minus old over old times 100, where new is going to be like our current prices, old is going to be prices from the past, and then when we plug them into that formula, it's going to tell us the percentage change, which is what we call our inflation rate. So what are we going to use for the new and the old? Well, there's a couple different things that we can plug in. One, we can plug in market baskets, which are just representative samples of some stuff in the economy that we can plug in to those formulas to get that growth rate. Or we can use things called CPIs, or really any price index. CPI is a specific kind of price index. Price index is the generic term. But if we have index numbers, we can plug those index numbers into our growth formula as well. So we can use our index numbers or market baskets in that CPI, in that growth formula to figure out that inflation rate. So let me give you guys an example, right? We'll use a really simple, basket, maybe 3 things in it, right? So we'll do, say like tacos and soda and maybe something else like, I don't know, gallon of gasoline, right? And these are the 3 things that say people are purchasing. So we'll do like 1996 will be 1 year, and we're going to compare 1996 to 2016. So over a 20-year period, what happened to those prices? And we'll say that tacos in 1996, that if you went to like a taco shop, taco would be $1. Maybe in 2016, we'll say tacos are $2. 2 liter of soda was $1. We'll say that is $3 now. And a gallon of gas was $2, and it is now $3, or in 2016 was $3, right? So we've got these numbers here, these market baskets. We can add up our market baskets. We'd have $4 for our 1996 basket, and then we would have, looks like that's $8 for our 2016 basket, and then we could plug those into our growth formula so that our inflation rate, which is abbreviated with pi, our inflation rate equals, right, our new is 8, our old is 4 over 4 times 100, right? And so then we would simplify this, and we would get 4 over 4 times 100 equals 1 times 100, which equals 100%. So what that means is that prices have increased 100% from 1996 to 2016, or in other words, the prices would have doubled. So we just used our market baskets and plugged them in to find that inflation rate. Now, it could be that instead of our market baskets, it could be that we're given CPI numbers, right? So we could see something that would be like the CPI for 1996, let's say was 150. And then the CPI for 2016 was 200. Well, if we had those CPI numbers, we can plug them back into that growth formula to find out what the rate of inflation over that time period was. So we would, again, we'd have our rate of inflation, abbreviated I, equals new, right? 200 minus 150 over the 150 times 100. And then we just go through and we would solve. Inflation equals 50 over 150 times 100. 50 over 50 is 1/3. 1/3 times 100 is 33. So our inflation rate would be 33.3%. So there you go. We plug our CPIs into that growth formula. That tells us our inflation rate as well. Now, the other thing that you might need to do is that you might need to go from market baskets to CPI. That's another question that you could be asked. So to go from market baskets to CPI, you know, the way that I remember this is that it's basically like a proportion, that the CPI for any given year is equal to the market basket in that year over our base basket. So going back to our original example where we had like our if 1996 was our base year, in that original example, I'd have 100 equals my 1996 basket was 4, my current basket was 8, and then my CPI number is what we would be trying to figure out, right? And then once you get it to here, you just solve for X. You can cross multiply, you can just multiply both sides by 100, whatever you want to do to solve for X, right? I'm going to just go X equals 8 over 4 times 100, right? Multiplying both sides by 100, those cancel. So I end up with X equals 8 over 4 times 100. 8 over 4 is 2. So X equals 2 times 100, which equals 200. So my 2016 CPI number, this is what we were trying to find. My 2016 CPI number would be 200 with 1996 as my base year. So all this means is that if 1996 is a 100, then 2016 is a 200 on that scale. That's all that CPI is it's just converting those market baskets to to a much easier scale. Because in the real world, your market basket has like 300 things in it. So the dollar value of your market basket is going to be in the thousands of dollars, and it's going to have like, it's going to be, calculated down to the penny. So you're going to have something that's in the thousands, calculated down to the penny. That's not going to be really useful for people to work with. So they just convert it onto this index so that it's like 1982 is 100. So then this year is like, maybe 275. And then next year it's going to be converted on that scale. And maybe next year it's 283 or whatever. And so you could just use those numbers to calculate the inflation rate, easier than having to keep track of those market baskets that are in the thousands of dollars calculated down to the penny. Much easier to just work with numbers that are based with a base of 100. So that's the calculations for inflation. The things that you really need to know how to do, you need to be able to use that growth formula with CPIs. You need to be able to use that growth formula with market baskets. And then you need to be able to go from market baskets to CPI, right? It's also possible, like on an AP test question, that I could give you the CPI for a year, and then I could give you one of these market baskets, and then you find the other market basket. You're just solving for X. So that's all I got for you guys today. See you guys soon.